Okay, and continuing on that question, actually, Mr. David from Michigan also wants to know, would the price of gold and silver be falling in terms of dollars? And if so, why would holding gold and silver be better than holding dollars?
Well, I think in any environment, like my view of the U.S. dollar is, I mean, I wrote an article about 2 years ago basically saying that the U.S. government cannot meet their obligations. I mean, the obligations they've committed to. And those commitments are Social Security, Medicare, the existing debt, civil service pension plans, which all add up to something like $75 trillion. And you have this $16 trillion economy, which has to service the $70 trillion of debt, and the $16 trillion economy ends up with $1 trillion deficit at the end of the year. So I'm not an optimist on any currency. The currencies are backed by the full faith of the government, but the full faith of the government is what's coming into question today. So gold will be valued in ounces, and dollars would be valued in terms of gold, and therefore the thing you really have to own is gold, not the dollars. And, you know, as I suggested, I mean, with the dollar collapse, for example, who cares what the price of gold is in dollars if dollars don't hold their value? So, yeah, I mean, it's the same question we've answered a number of times on this call already. I don't believe in the sanctity of the U.S. dollar. In fact, I think the opposite of that. And it's not just a dollar, by the way. It's the yen, it's the pound, it's the euro. They all have their, you know, dysfunctional side to them, and they've all issued too much debt versus the engine that has to pay off the debt. So that's why one of the primary reasons that you want to own gold and silver.
Thank you very much. Our next question is from Mr. Adrian Dehir. In the current context of allegations of Libor manipulation, the same banks are mentioned as Gala does in the context of manipulation of the gold price. Can you reveal any logical relation between those two manipulations who seem to be intertwined? I mean, another relation than simply greed. Is there any theory explaining why manipulation of Libor must be followed by manipulation of the gold price, or vice versa?
Well, we touched on that in an earlier question. And no, there's no reason that just because you manipulate Libor, you're going to manipulate the gold price. But there is lots of people who believe that one of the reasons you manipulate Libor is because you get to keep revaluing the fixed income assets you have on your balance sheet as interest rates go lower, because it looks like you have capital appreciation. The same theory would hold that in order for the currencies to maintain their value, it's important to keep a lid under gold. So the thesis would be the same. It makes the banks look stronger if certain things act in certain ways. Whether or not you can make a direct relationship, I don't think so. Manipulation hasn't been proven in the gold and silver sector, even though there have been some lawsuits filed over that. But as I referred to earlier, there's been lots of work that suggests that central banks have to be involved, and are involved, of course, in the gold market. And it's like other markets are involved in, like the interest rate market. There's no doubt that they manipulate the interest rate to suit their purposes. That's essentially what job number one is for a central bank. So we don't have proof positive that there's manipulation in gold, but I think the evidence strongly suggests that there's the hidden hand is there all the time in the gold market.
Thank you very much. And here's the last question from Mr. Stephen Adams. The Canadian banking system is often portrayed as above the issues plaguing the world banks. Regarding the MF Global scenario, 2008 bank runs in the UK, and the US bank bailouts, are these events possible here under present Canadian banking rules?
Is it possible we could have a bank run in Canada? Well, of course it's possible. You know, we've had bank runs in Europe. We've had bank runs in Argentina. We've had bank runs in Britain, for goodness sake. Yes, any time that people question the ability of the bank to repay the deposit, then they will take their money out of the bank. And depending on how things unfold in Europe, or wherever the next flashpoint is, people more and more are realizing that there's risks in banks because of the huge leverage that they employ to generate returns that are always above what's normal, and that's why they have to be levered. And if there was a situation where anyone ever announced that depositors lost money at, Bank A in Europe, and then Bank B in Europe, and then Bank C in Europe, or some other country, I think the public would take notice of that, and yes, they could decide to take money out of a Canadian bank. That's not to say that the powers that be wouldn't stand in there, which they have done in most cases in the world so far, that the sovereigns and or central banks have stood in when you've had these deposit runs. We're less likely to have that happen here because our banking system is appreciated to be more stable. But it bears watching. I think everybody who's involved in the precious metals market has to watch on a daily basis what plays out in various countries in the world. And I don't just mean the ones in North America. I mean Europe, I mean China, other major economic powers. But on a relative basis, our Canadian banking system is pretty sound. But there's no predicting when these things can flash up and cause issues anywhere in the world.
Thank you very much. So, Eric, that concludes all of our viewers' questions that we have for today.
Well,
thank you very much for your time.
Well, thank you for the quality of the questions, and I hope we're able to satisfy people's interest in the precious metals area. And I always encourage everyone to own a significant portion of their invested funds in both gold and silver. Myself, I'm probably 80% in gold and silver, and believe me, I sleep well at night, notwithstanding the price of gold having gone down in 15 months, because I know exactly where it's going to go when this thing is all ended. So all the best to you and the customers of Sprott Money.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay, bye now.